Raw Talk is opinion-based, and everyone is encouraged to do their own research. Welcome back to Raw Talk. Super excited to be here, and honestly, I had to pull myself up by the bootstraps because I was getting that lazy bone in my system. I was getting that kicking the can down the hallway in my system where I'm like, and I don't know why I've been overthinking this episode on relationships. The question this week is, who do you love? Okay, and it doesn't have to be a romantic interest. Who I love, first and foremost, is myself. Some people might answer that question with God or Jesus, but that voice speaks to me through intuition. And I am not a religious person, but I do believe in a higher power, and I listen to that energy. It's flowing amongst the universe. So I have self-love, and I think that is absolutely, without a doubt, the most important love for us to have in our lives, in our minds. Of course, with relationships, we have the relationship with ourselves. I'm going to break down 4. We have the self-relationship, we have our family, we have our friends, and then last but not least, the romantic relationships, which that is a whole can of worms within itself. So I'm going to cover all this with in that order, and we'll see how long this one runs. I'm gonna spitball this right now. So to get this started, the relationship with oneself. Okay, I do believe that this is the most important relationship above them all. If we do not have a healthy self-relationship, then it's going to make all the other type of relationships in our life more difficult, because when we are, leaning on our family for things, which is fine, or leaning on our friends or our romantic interest, it's best if we come complete. And that's a tall glass to drink sometimes, because I feel like, there's a lot of people out there searching for relationships to fill a void, and they're like, oh, if only I had a girlfriend, my life would be better. If only I had some friends, my life would be better. And I'm not sitting here saying that you won't have elevated experiences with a romantic partner or with friendships. Those are amazing, and I would never want to trade those experiences for anything. However, without my self-work, without being honest with myself, then all of the friendships that I was building, all of my romantic relationships in my past, they were all faulty. And it's also because I was toxic too. So I always want to be honest about that. I definitely catered to some unhealthy relationships in my life because I myself was unhealthy too. So that's really why I wanted to start with the relationship that we have with ourselves, and why we need to have self-love, because you can look at that like the soil in the planter pot. Like, the self-love is the soil, and without that fertile soil, nothing else can grow out of it. And you're almost just destined to have meaningless relationships. And without self-love, we can't depend on other people to make us feel full. So I really wanted to get into that and express how I felt about self-love, and why the person that I love the most is actually myself. And that's okay, but we also have to be honest with ourselves. And I'm just going to, put it out here. It's been it's been like 2 weeks since I dropped an episode. Sure, I was doing some traveling. I got a little bug that I was fighting off, but I started making excuses, so I needed to be honest with myself about okay, I'm making some excuses. I'm kicking the can. Where's my creative energy at? I'm in my own head. And so the relationship with ourselves will continue to mold and change as we grow and change as individuals. And it's important to understand that there's certain cycles in life, and to stay open to the new cycle that will inevitably begin. Because sometimes I have the motivation. Sometimes I feel like I'm nonstop. I can go. I'm Superman. But then like that cycle kind of ends and like I kind of hit a slump, and maybe a creative slump, maybe where I'm not being as dedicated to my diet as I should be, or working out as consistently as I should be. And that's okay too. So being honest with ourselves is being able to call ourselves out on stuff like that. But it's also important to give ourselves a break, because as the saying goes, we are all our own worst critic. And that is absolutely the truth. No one will ever be as hard on you as you are on yourself, just like me. No one's been harder on me than myself. And no one actually created all these big issues in my life other than me. Now, I'm fortunate for that. If you have outside circumstances that made your life more challenging, then like Will Smith said, it's your responsibility to figure out what you're going to do with that. But it really stems from self-love. And once you have found your self-love and continue to work on yourself, because it's not like I find, respect and love for myself and then I'm just good, like I can stop working on it forever now. Oh, I checked that box, I'm good now. No, that's not how it works. You have to continue to cultivate and nurture and build yourself up and just continue to grow with yourself. So that's really important, is the self-love aspect. So moving on to the next type of relationship, family, right? Like we're born into a family and we don't get to choose who we're with. Like this is almost the most immediate next relationship. So it only makes sense to cover family next. And I do want to say thank you to my mother and father. I think you are some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and so smart and giving, and I just feel so blessed to have my parents. Not everybody has parents that are there for them, and so I just want to acknowledge that, and I am grateful and I'm thankful that I've had both my parents in my life. Even though they've went through their own things, they didn't work out, but they were always there for me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for my older brother, Eric. Taught me so many things, helped mold me when I was younger, and you inspire me to this day to be a better man. And I love my brother to death, and I'm looking forward to going to Sweden with him in August. So that's going to be so much fun. But to dive deeper into the family aspect, we don't get to choose our family. Not every family is positive and encouraging, and sometimes family members can be really toxic, right? So my thoughts on that: as we grow into adulthood, we do have a choice on who we spend our time with, who we associate with, who we tell our biggest issues to, and just because somebody is part of our family doesn't mean that we got to put up with disrespect all the time. Now, I've seen this from outside circumstances, and I'm grateful that I've never really had to deal with this myself, but I know it exists, and I would be ignorant just to act like, every family is peaches and cream out there. No, it's more like rubbles and dust in a lot of area, and how to pull yourself out of that rubble and dust. Like, let's just say your family's completely toxic. It's okay to choose who is in our life. Just like the self-love relationship, when you start really finding who you are, and that's why it's the most important one, that self-love. Once you find who you are, then you're going to start finding people that help you align with who you are in your life. If you are just keeping people around in your life that are toxic because you feel like it's the right thing to do, then you're creating extra speed bumps for yourself. And I hate to be like cold-hearted or chip on my shoulder, but I'm sorry, this existence hasn't been that easy in all facets to me, or you, for sure. To all of us, it's been really difficult. So I've had a policy for a while now, and it's my chop and block policy, okay? And that is that anyone, even the people I care about the very most, the people I love the most, Everyone's susceptible to being on that chopping block, and I'm just sitting here with my cleaver at all times, because once you've done the self-work that I did on myself, I'll be fucking damned if I let anybody else come in here and throw me off my center and pull me back down to who I used to be. I shut the door on who Arthur Raw was, and I'm building a newer and stronger me, and I need the right people in my life to help elevate me and help keep me accountable. And if you got naysayers, especially in your family, like you're a big dreamer and you got big ambition, but then your family of all people are like doubting you and talking doubt into your head, putting negative thoughts and like not encouraging you to take a risk, like that those are people that really are losing respect in my personal opinion. Like it's okay if people question and like, you know, talk to you in a caring way, like out of concern, making sure that you're making the right decisions. But it's another thing if they're sitting here saying like, nah, you'll never be able to do that. You can't. Why would you even try? Like, look, we have enough negative dialogue in our own heads. So you can get the fuck out of the front door with that bullshit. I don't care if you're part of my family or not. I got the chopping block up here, and it's just like, you know, I'll give people some chances, but if they continually show me somebody who is counterproductive, isn't moving in my same direction, you know, I'm gonna have to drop that cleaver. And that goes for family members too. And that's not always an easy decision to make. Of course, family will always be around to a certain extent, and it's important to do that kind of stuff respectfully. Like if I'm dropping a cleaver on any type of relationship, I want to do that as respectfully as I possibly can, because honestly, it's never an easy decision to remove people out of our lives. But in the long run, if it helps us become better, if we got to go do that hard thing to get better, then that's what we got to do, man. Do the right thing, right reason, even if it's hard. You know, you're going to start seeing a lot of these mantras keep coming back around. They keep coming back around. So ultimately, I do believe that the self-care relationship is by far the most important. Family also is extremely important. And just because, like, let's say that you did grow up in that toxic household, you do not have to continue to live that way. Like, you can break the chain, you can break the cycle if it's like generations deep of like this type of negatively seated behavior. Like, you have the power to change the cycle and stop being susceptible to it. But we have to choose, you know, if we keep members of our family in our lives, if they are negative. And again, I am so grateful for my family, and I love y'all so much. This whole one on relationships is juicy, okay? I also want to cover relationships with friends, and then, of course, romantic relationships. As everybody knows, I want to keep these within 5 to 15 minutes. I've hit 20 minutes multiple times. So this one's going to be a 2-part episode. So I'm going to be coming back at you with how I think about friends and that relationships. And then, of course, the romantic relationships, right? And like, what do I think about that? And when is it even the right time to get into any of that? So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Raw Talk. Sorry I missed y'all last week, but I'm going to keep coming at you. This will be a 2-part episode on relationships. Have the love alive, and I'll talk to you soon.